I mentioned earlier that I did a bunch of charitable work over the weekend. I attended the first ever fundraiser for the Undaunted Dames, a women's veterans organization who helps veterans and other women try to, when they're going through a tough time. My friend D. Red and the whole crew were amazing. And I also went to the Near and Far Animal Foundation. The Near and Far Animal Foundation has, I would say, 95% of its members are women. So I was at two women's organizations, and the enthusiasm for Trump was crazy. Like, all these women, these suburban women who are supposedly not for Trump, are all like foaming, like, we're gonna kill, we gotta win. And I was telling them, like, the enthusiasm is good, that's great, like flying the flag and beeping the horns, but you got to go vote no matter what happens, and you got to make an effort to bother one person to go with you, because enthusiasm isn't the only thing. We need the actual votes. And to break that down in a lot more detail, my good friend Joe Pinion joins me right now. He's a Republican strategist, philanthropist. And Joe, you see Trump signs everywhere. You see Trump flags in California to Maine to everywhere. There's a ton of enthusiasm. But everybody's got to keep their eye on the ball here, right? And take that enthusiasm right to the polls.
No, absolutely. I think that, people have tried to, juxtapose, what people have for Joe Biden versus the enthusiasm that may have been there for Hillary Clinton. And I think the reality is that we're dealing with a different type of election. And so I think that people should not get overconfident when they see these Trump boat parades, or whether they see these Trump monster truck going up and down the freeways. I think we have to remain focused on the fact that, people want, all that enthusiasm equates to one vote per person. And so I think it's incumbent on the GOP, and particularly the Trump administration, to focus now more so than ever before on the pain and concerns of the people that put him in the White House. Because I think, again, 4 years ago, when we were talking about Hillary Clinton and the emails, those weren't just the president's grievances. They were also the grievances of an American people who felt as if there were two tiers of justice, one for them and one for these political elites. I think right now the president needs to focus on the pain of those people on Main Street, those people who haven't seen their grandparents in, 6, 7, 8 months, besides via FaceTime or through the looking glass. So I think, again, if the GOP is going to be successful in holding on to the Senate and holding on to the Oval, it's going to be because of the fact that they get back on messaging, get back on the issues, and remind the American people that if you're unhappy with the fact that you haven't seen your loved one, or that your loved one passed away at one of these nursing homes, that the Democrats are planning to bring back the exact same policies that have led to having some of this same pain and suffering.
Right. It's absolutely crazy. I have been trying to encourage people in my, local orbit to just start wearing a little more Trump gear, start letting other people realize it's okay to wear the Trump gear, and let's let the silent majority start to come out of the shadows right here. And, Joe, I can remember times in my life when, there was only a couple of small races, a judge or some, state committee members. And even though I'm a political whore, I would be like, I got a dinner, I'm not going to go vote for that judge, you know what I mean? But to me, I would always find the extra effort and go do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to make sure that I kept at least my compact with using my vote. But I think a lot of people think, we either got this or we don't got it. No one can come up with any excuse to miss voting.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think no matter where you come from, whether you're, you've got people who are descendants of Italian immigrants, you've got people like myself, descendants of African Americans who literally have died for the right to vote. Voting is your constitutional right, and you should exercise it as much as humanly possible, because of the fact that the consequences are dire when you start talking about the policies that people want to put in place. I think we've maybe taken the wrong approach to try to vilify Joe Biden, or trying to see that the sins of the son can be attributed to the father. I think we just have to focus on the policies of the people behind the father, because at the end of the day, what Kamala Harris, what the Democrats are trying to usher in is an America that is unrecognizable, with policies that have never worked in the history of the world.
No
and
doubt.
I think that's what we have to focus on first and foremost.
And Joe, I just had on my buddy, former Congressman Vito Fossella, spent 6 terms down in Washington. And, many people out there think that it's, oh, they'll never pack the court, that's too hard. But Vito was breaking it down that, if they get the Senate, the House, and the presidency, it's just a legislative move. So they could pack this court in 2 seconds. And Kamala Harris has said flat out, I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be very clear. I mean, I think there are people like myself who pre-COVID didn't necessarily think that Joe Biden was going to make it entirely through the presidential election because he just seems so frail. It seems unlikely that he will make it through the entirety of a first term. And if he does, a lot of the heavy lifting will probably be done by his vice president and by the people in that administration. And so I think, again, whether you're talking about packing the courts or whether you're talking about just basic policies, a Green New Deal that doesn't actually solve the environmental crisis, in some ways actually makes it worse, and in the process bankrupts America at the brink of the beginning of a 21st century where we need to start to lead again. These are the type of issues that should be first and foremost on the minds of the American voter.
Yep.
And I think, again, issue by issue, if you're one of those 7 million people that got a job underneath President Trump, if you're one of the people who again saw wages increase, I think, again, this notion that Democrats have a plan to continue that trajectory is unlikely, particularly when, again, the policies that they are planning to implement, that they are promising to implement, really lead to, again, such a deterioration of wages and economic prosperity that many people have come to count on.
Yeah, and I've been trying to point this, Joe, as, to me, one of the most important issues. Like the last time I would get aggravated with Trump here and there with his tweeting or something crazy, right? But in my head, my main justification was we need him in to get some justices seated, and then we're always protected by the judicial branch. That was my thing, and he's done that, right? What people don't realize, when the leadership is telling you, we're with Black Lives Matter, we're with Antifa, we want to take away your trains, planes, and automobiles, we want to raise your taxes, and we want to squelch your free speech with our friends in Silicon Valley, the only relief we may have is through the court system to fight this tyranny. And even if you take it to the highest level, if they pack that court, they've taken away the last tool of the people, and we're literally a dictatorship.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Democrats have running around talking about, oh, we've got socialism light, we've got democratic socialism. Well, I don't know what that means because every form of socialism that we've actually confronted in the modern world has led to tyrannical government. America was founded to escape tyrannical governments, to protect the ultimate minority, which are individual rights. That is why, again, if people want to talk about, the fact that we do have higher deaths from COVID-19, that is the unfortunate outgrowth of the fact that we live in a nation that's not going to track you via your cell phone to try to find you thousands of dollars as they do in a place like Canada. We live in a nation that's not going to literally start quarantining villages, that doesn't, say that you can basically insult the government at breakfast and be disappeared by lunch as they do in China. That's the type of government that, yes, maybe they can drive down COVID numbers, but they can also strip you of all the things that we hold dear. And so I think, again, if we had a better way of messaging to explain to people the juxtaposition between liberty, what liberty actually entails, and also just ensuring that people be conscious of the fact they need to protect themselves at all times, I think we'd be in a much better place.
Joey, we're always in a better place when you join us. Thank you so much for your great. Nah, listen, you're great. You put it in, that's why we became friends so fast. You put it in terms where people can understand, and we gotta, no matter at whatever platforms we have available to us, we gotta keep pounding the message that we're on the road to hell if Trump doesn't win.
My friend, we'll talk soon.